Welcome, everyone. Look deeply into the eye of Agamotto, because once again, it's time for a Marvel DC team-up to review the new Doctor Strange movie. That's right, we're finally getting to it. So it's me, Phil. We have Lil Hellfire.
And Charlie Esser.
That's right.
Sorry.
Hi, yeah. Sorry, Lilith, you're not allowed to talk. You know, it's the new order.
Okay.
And
It's a Marvel movie.
no. So Lilith, what did you think?
Are we recording yet?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I fell asleep halfway through it.
Ooh.
Theater.
Okay. So that is not a ringing endorsement.
It was my day off on top of that, so I was like fresh as a daisy.
So what part put you to sleep? Was it him training?
No. Okay, so I just want to say that I thought that this movie's was visually stunning. It was like The Matrix meets Inception, and I did kind of like that. Like, I tend to like the Marvel movies that go off the beaten path and are trying like different formulas. Like, I really liked Guardians of the Galaxy. I really liked The Winter Soldier, their take on espionage and things like that. And I thought I was definitely going to like this, but then I remembered I really hate Marvel and its mysticism and magic. It's not as deep and thought out as DC's is. You know what I mean? But I like Benedict Cumberbatch.
Okay.
So I thought I was like, okay, it'll balance out, but it didn't.
Ooh.
I fell asleep at the part after he first meets Mads Mikkelsen's character, which I was like, I don't do any research about Marvel movies. I just like to kind of jump into them. So I didn't know he was there. I was like, oh, it's Hannibal. It's gonna be good, but it was kind of a waste. And I was like, oh, oh, he's only in it for 10 seconds. Okay.
Oh yeah. Benjamin Pratt comes back later in the end, and it's important.
I know. I was just like, when they like just shipped him off, and I'm just like, oh, okay.
Well, you know, I have a theory. He is going to come back as I don't know where he's going to come back, but I think he does come back as Master Pandemonium.
Okay, I hope so.
Because, there's a guy, no arms and legs. They can do no arms and legs, but, now he has demons to do it and all that stuff, Yeah. So that'd be cool.
Hopefully.
I just want to say that the DC Cinematic Universe, the first one had Tilda Swanson first and Constantine. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Okay, now really, are you going to say, oh, yes, Constantine, such a better film than Doctor Strange? Cross that because then well, this might get serious
here. The visual budget, and I'm just saying. Anyway, no, it was an okay movie. Like, I did end up watching it again, and I was like, okay, I like the ending. I like the end scene. Obviously, I was like, that's cute.
Oh, what, the whole Dormammu time loop thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was great, and of course, it is the idea of sacrifice. That's what you have to learn to be a great magician. Is you must abandon self and say, with great power comes great responsibility. And so I will doom myself to an eternal loop of fighting Dormammu if that saves my universe.
I just want to say, thank God this movie's finally been made. They've been trying to make this damn movie since the mid-'80s.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's I mean, they did so well with the what was it, Peter Hooton version, in the early 80s, late 70s.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was actually, what I'll tell you about that film? It wasn't, it was a late 70s Marvel movie, and it was not good. But then again, movies weren't necessarily good back then anyway. So, it's like the effects were cheesy, but really weren't all effects cheesy at that point in history.
Well, that was gonna be my point. Thank goodness they didn't make this movie any earlier. Can you imagine if they would have made it like in the 90s or something?
David Hasselhoff is Doctor Strange.
No, he was already committed to Nick Fury. They couldn't have him as Doctor Strange too. So,
be like Nick Cage or something.
Oh, see, Nick Cage, I think, might have actually done a pretty interesting Doctor Strange. He would have certainly been intense, but I think he could have handled it. I think he could have certainly handled the, you know,
My hands.
yeah, I could see
The
it. Man.
bees, not the bees.
Yes, well, yeah, well, no, but I think here's what I'll say. I do think Benedict Cumberbatch was very good as or Batch or whatever his name is. I did think he was good as Doctor Strange.
I mean, they handpicked this role for him because I mean, even though really like for the first 15 minutes, all I did see was BBC Sherlock, like because he's arrogant, he's a jackhole, all those things on that TV show. Yeah. And it took me a good 15 minutes to be okay, just let it be. Stephen Strange, just let it set in.
Well, but for what it's worth, Stephen Strange is a jackhole.
I know. That's what I mean. So they did a good job with that.
I mean, truth be told, I mean, really, Marvel has a lot of real jackhole characters when you think about it, especially anytime someone has knowledge that's beyond. Charles Xavier is actually really always supposed to be a real jerk.
Yeah.
And because, of course, he understands things that every other genius that he talks to on a daily basis doesn't understand. And when you get to be a guy like Doctor Strange, where it's like, Reed Richards and Tony Stark, they want to say how smart they are, and he's like, you don't even understand the underpinnings of the universe. You think you do, but no, it gets crazy. It gets crazy once you get outside the front door.
Well, yeah, but the whole arrogance thing, I was thinking about this because, Charlie, we discussed Doctor Strange a little on superconnectivity. And you were, I remember you were saying, isn't it interesting that they switched like the origin, like the car accident comes now from like texting and talking on the phone rather than like drunk driving. And I think that plays in more. It's even better for the Doctor Strange is arrogant because I think the phone more represents that. Oh, he sees himself as like the most important person in the world, and the rest of the world can't get along without him for 5 minutes, so he has to be on that phone.
About that scene, let me tell you that my boyfriend, he knows very little about comic books, right? And he goes, wait a minute, did he just deny Rhodey? He's not going to treat Rhodey? That's what he gets. He deserves that car accident.
There's actually debate there. I'm not sure that was supposed to be Rhodey. And because the time, I don't think the timeline works out for that to be Rhodey. Because we do see Avengers Tower not destroyed in that film, and Rhodey doesn't get get damaged until Winter Soldier or Civil War. Yeah, so I actually think that is the guy that we see in Iron Man 2, where his spine gets turned around by the hammer armor. And because they say it was a career soldier with a crushed spine from an experimental armor, and so that's what I tend to think that is. Just because, and of course, because as was said by Hammer in that thing, I'll have you know that man lived. So yeah. So I don't, and
it's hilarious that my boyfriend, who very rarely pays attention to anything, he got so indignant about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is an indignity, and it is but this is the crux of it, that he is arrogant, he is brilliant, but he also doesn't want to. He is brilliant and successful, but he also doesn't care about people. It's like his healing people is more about his own self-aggrandizement, about playing God, than it is about. Yeah, I mean that's
not Mr. It's Doctor. It's not Master. It's Doctor.
Yes, and Doctor Strange. Well, he did work hard for that doctorate. MD.
Well, there's like an interesting thing in the Doctor Strange novel I read, Devin Grayson wrote. It's interesting. There's like a flashback to his childhood, and it's like he kind of realizes he didn't become a doctor because he wanted to help people. It's like his mother, like she would go on and on about the town doctor, so it was more like he was like, wow, look at the way people like worship doctors.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, yeah. I think that's absolutely it. I think that is absolutely it. I mean, I'm sure sometimes when he helps people, he feels good about it, you know, because it always feels good to help people. But at the end of the day, you know, his raison d'etre is look how great I am.
I mean, it was money for the longest time. Did you see that drawer full of watches on spinning podiums? Yeah.
Oh yeah. And honestly, that thank you privatized American medicine, I guess is what the moral of that story is.
Yep.
Because if he was a Canadian doctor, you know, Canadian Doctor Strange is a very different film.
so is Breaking Bad.
Yeah, I mean, he still does well, but it's like, you know, it's not the
not Ferrari
quite...
good, okay? it's a Lexus good.
Yes, it's oh man, yeah, but so he does, you know, and what's weird is like he just is so, you know, he has no patience, and you kind of wonder in that if he's actually damaging his hands more by all of the constant surgeries and going in and not being willing to do the work. And that comes into this idea when he makes the point about him, so how he has a photographic memory, and how, you know, which of course is an important thing because he is a surgeon, and that is kind of a point about surgeons. I mean, watch Scrubs, you know, there is this view of surgeons as the meatheads, you know. They are the guys who, you know, they know where things are, and so they go in, they take them out, they put them in. And how, you know, there may be this brilliance to Doctor Strange, but that it always has been on the surface. It always has been the easy thing. That, you know, he probably is brilliant enough that he could have become, you know, he could have been House, but being House would have been a lot harder work because then he has to work on theory, not just practice. And instead he becomes a surgeon, which of course gives him way more money. And so it's all a reward, half the work. And, you know, but when he actually finds himself in a position where he does have to struggle, where he does have to work, he finds he can't. He can't take the time to heal. He just has to get back to where he was. Because of course, as you know, as people will say, you know, he could have been a brilliant teacher. He could have done so many things brilliantly, but he just wanted to get back to where his life was easy. And of course, he winds up making his life all the more hard because he doesn't want to take the time to heal.
Well, I guess he thinks his hands are everything. He could teach, he could do this, he could do that, but he's the rock star, and without his hands, he's nothing, I guess.
Yeah. But then he goes to and of course, you know, there will be many conversations about either how long it takes to cast a decent spell, or how easy it is to become a master sorcerer. This is San Dagobah stuff here, where, you know, he goes, and, you know, within, now of course they do comment about, you're learning this stuff real fast, and he says, well, I'm also, you know, I have photographic memory, and because now that I can keep my mind awake while my body sleeps, which, not for nothing, that's got to have some kind of long-term negative consequences, keeping your mind awake while your body sleeps. He's basically studying 24 hours a day, you know. You know, and it is also interesting to me that basically, you know, the Ancient One just sort of lets him in after, you know, what was it, like 7 hours? 7 hours of waiting, and they let him in.
Well, again, was that the first test to see, you know, if he had some patience? Because he was an arrogant man, so it's like, does he have the patience? Does he want it bad enough?
And, you know, it also did make me wonder if he how quickly he accepted magic as an observation when very clearly that all could have been, you know, hallucinogens and hypnotism, you know. The most powerful superpower there is, as we all know, hypnotism.
Well, was he just that desperate that, you know...
That's exactly
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess maybe that is it. But then does that really? And it is an interest, and maybe that is why she throws him out, is because there is that reality that he really is just desperate. That he's not coming there because he's learned anything.
Mm-hmm.
He's coming there because he's desperate, and he'll just try anything at this point. And he starts off with tossing it aside and belittling it, and then he gets one quick glimpse at what's beyond, and then it's like, okay, I'll do whatever you say, and it's like, you're still not there.
So my big question is, do you have to have some kind of natural ability to work magic well, or do you just have to be a good student?
That is, well, here's what we'll say. We know that Pangborn, Benjamin Bratt, was arguably possibly going to be just as good as Doctor Strange, that he had the same thing. So was it studiousness? No, he was a machinist, so maybe that works into it too. That's the thing. It's hard to say exactly what the meaning of it is, except for the fact that there does seem to be some kind of suggestion that it is about just unlocking your Rick Jones potential, becoming that looking beyond the veil and being able to embrace that this universe is not as it seems, and that you can have this observation creating reality, that the veil is much less solid than we like to pretend it is in this fantastical universe of the Marvel Universe. So I do think that it is something that anyone can become a master of the mystic arts if they just train, and that tends to be what we see throughout most of the Marvel Universe. Although there is certainly a lot to be said for this idea of mystic relics, as we say, as we make clear that the sling rings are central to doing magic. That if you don't have this device, this object, you can't open these gateways, which is a very new take on it, because it kind of walks back the magic aspect of it. I think the sling rings sort of essentially move it more towards that DC model of you need to have an object to do magic. You can't just be enlightened.
Do you think that
you have to be
they do that to build in like a weakness, so everything isn't too easy, people aren't just opening portals left and right, and that's kind of like his kryptonite, that he needs an object to perform certain spells?
Yeah, I mean, I think that seems to be that. I think it also is part of the appeasement of Chinese censors. The idea that maybe there is this more physical barrier to it, that it's not just it's not just it's not just supernatural. It is extra dimensional. It is some other being that is just the being in this other dimension, which it's amazing how quickly religious philosophy becomes science when you just say it exists. And it makes for this interesting thing, because if it exists, then it is something that has limits and boundaries, and if it has limits and boundaries, then it is arguably by its nature not magical. It is actually physical, just as anything else is physical. So you can go to a dimension and meet God, the devil, and Bob, and they're real, they're there, but they're not magical, because now they have form and they have limitations. Once you have form, you have limitations. So, I mean, that would be my take on it. And I think that seems to be what they're building there. I think they do that again with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And again, like in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., all you need is to open the book, and now here's all mystical knowledge. Here's how you build your dark matter energy generator. No experience required. Just being president. It's you can learn it on the floor.
How did you feel about the tweaking of Carl Mordos? Like,
I thought that. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh no, like yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I thought that was a really brilliant way to deal with Mordo, because essentially what they did was, and it like we always say, they have to change these things because otherwise what's going to happen. If they followed the book, there's no surprise at Mordo's betrayal, and now they actually inform Mordo's betrayal in a way that makes so much more sense. It's not just about reclaiming. It's not about acquisition of power. It's about this betrayal, this lying. Although, for what it's worth, I think the Ancient One kind of makes her own point in this, which is that, yes, if you use, this dark magic, most people are going to be corrupted. I can do it because I'm cool like that. But at the same time, she was cool like that. And Calisius clearly wasn't cool like that, because like within a month of opening up the book, he's all scaly and turning into a mindless one. I mean, that's the truth. Is like it's Tilda Swinton could handle the corruption. She could get into that bath and she could get back out when she needed to. Calisius, he gets in now. He's just all in and he's lost. He's lost his complete sense of self and sense of way, and he becomes the monster he most fears. I'm sure there's ways to approach that and discuss that in other political contexts as well, if we want to get extra symbolic about people that can maybe swim in the swamp and not get dirty, and people who
promising to drain it.
Yeah, well,
sorry.
No. Hey, we're all there. We're all there, Lilith. We'll get we gotta drum up that controversy. We need people writing in saying how awful we are and to just get over it, because that seemed to be how you drive attention to your website. So.
Oh, but also Wong. Like, I was just like, so are we gonna develop that relationship or no? Like, I was excited about that.
Yeah, I thought they handled Wong very well. Wong is stoic. But you know what I really thought was, I see what they did there with Wong. Wong is now the Ancient One. I don't know if people picked up on that, because now he is the ranking mystic. He is still, because Doctor Strange isn't Sorcerer Supreme yet by any means. He is in no way the head of the Mystic Order yet. Wong is now the head of the Mystic Order. Wong is also in charge of the Kamar-Taj monastery. Wong is now the Ancient One. And as I've said, I think one of the reasons they didn't want to have an Asian female or an Asian male as the Ancient One was because they knew they had to have the Ancient One die. That they knew that the Ancient One had to be sacrificed in this film. And they didn't want to be, let's kill the not white.
Complex. Yeah, okay. I can
see that. I think that there's a lot of thought that goes into these things. I don't think that they are done quite as haphazardly as people think. And I know that, and like I said, I know George Takei was mad because it was like, dang it, it was an old Asian role. I am the guy who on the roles. How dare you cast Tilda Swinton in that?
Oh my.
That's my gig. He would have been fantastic as the Ancient One, and I always wanted to cast him as the Ancient One. And I wouldn't have killed the Ancient One at the end. But, I understand why they felt they needed to have that death. You got to have that, it's like writing porn. You have to hit your beats, otherwise people are going to lose interest. And you have to have, in a superhero film, you got to have that person die. You've got to have your person's, because you have to make the stakes real about why superheroing is an important and dangerous business.
Money shot.
They didn't make him the tea-serving manservant, because, like, in today's modern age, that just wasn't gonna fly. So I was just really curious.
Yeah, but they weren't gonna do that anyway. I mean, that was the thing. And in fact, there was like discussion they weren't even gonna have Wong in it. And then they said, no, we can't not have Wong in it when we make the Ancient One white and Mordo is black, and we're going to Kamar-Taj. We can't completely remove Asians from this storyline. But they do, and of course, in that first scene, they get to play on again, these perceptions of what mysticism must be by having the older monk there, who is a master, but having Doctor Strange confuse him for the Ancient One, and he's just like, "You're talking to me," you know. So it was very interesting. It was a bold choice. I think they made it work on the grander scale. I think that once you see it, you kind of get where they were going with what they're trying to build out here. I thought it was very interesting that one of the biggest questions I have, this is like this first time where you can look at the previous movie and say, what were the other heroes doing? And like right now, since they have the thing in London, then someone has to go back and deal with this. Like when the Dark Elves were invading London, which seems like exactly the thing that Masters of the Mystic Art should be involved in. Where were they? Although I guess you could maybe make the argument, it's like, what, you really thought those little posts that Selvig was sticking in the ground is what saved the day? No. There was like an entire mystical battle that you couldn't even see. I was really hoping someone would have mentioned that. That there was this whole thing going on. You guys have no idea what actually happened when Thor was fighting those guys. That there was like 800 monks that were in the mirror dimension at that time battling dark elf magic to actually save the day. But
well, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point, because they made someone made the comment that as the Avengers protect the physical world, we protect like the mystical and all this, and it's like, okay, well, what have you done?
Yeah, well, apparently, just not causing all their own problems by having guys open up the magical books and tearing out the pages. Although I thought it was kind of weird that Doctor Strange was able to just like fix the pages, and it's like, oh, dude, didn't even think to do that. Although they make the point that you don't mess with time, because then you're going to go into a time loop and da-da-da. And of course, he goes and gets himself into a time loop to save the day, which of course is the entire crux of superheroism, is this idea, there's rules and we got to break them because there's a system, but the system doesn't work. And we need to break the system to make it better. And that's what gets us to where we are today.
Yeah, I mean, well, it wasn't just like breaking at the end. It wasn't breaking rules for the sake of the rules. It's like you broke the rules because the Earth was about to get swallowed up by a Dormammu. That's the whole. That's the whole thing with Mordo. It's like, okay, yeah, we could follow the rules to the letter, but we'd be dead right now. Or
the only thing is that as Mordo says, there is going to be a cost for this. You act like, okay. So to put it in our modern political context, you have this slow-moving, procedural, difficult process of politics, and then you have people who just want to burn it all down and hope that what rises in its place is going to be better. And yeah, you might actually burn it down, and you might actually, people will say right now, hey, Donald Trump's not beholden to anyone; he can do whatever he wants. But there's going to be a cost for whatever he wants. And the reality is that the things he'll probably do with that power may not be good in the long run, And while I'm not going to associate Doctor Strange with Donald Trump, I think that at its core in the superhero genre, that is what you're looking at. You're looking at people that are saying the system doesn't work. And rather than finding a way to work within the system, i.e. Tony Stark in Civil War, we're just going to burn the system down. We're just going to create our own system because that'll just be better because we're better people. And it is a bit of hubris, and it is a bit of, I don't care if it has consequences because the other outcome is just as bad.
Yeah, but
and of course.
Yeah, but see, I don't think you're being fair, though. It's like, it's not that Doctor Strange wanted to break the rules. I think it's to the point, it was like, the world's about to be swallowed up by the dark dimension. This is the only way I see of getting out of this. He didn't want to break it wasn't breaking the rules for the sake of breaking the rules. Not saying, the system is broken. It's basically, I cannot see another way out of this. This is the only way I can see this to get out of this and to save the whole planet.
Yeah, and I get that perspective as well.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that once you break the rules, now it's so much easier to break the rules the next time.
Mm-hmm.
And the next time. So, and for example, you can make perfectly legitimate arguments about why stricter observation of certain groups of people might be beneficial for public safety. But of course, once you do that, then, well, who else could we watch? How much closer can we watch? Incrementally, you get to this point where, okay, now the darkness, now we are just going to, much like the Ancient One, because she's taking that little bit of the dark dimension, because she feels, well, I'm the only one that can keep the universe safe, so I will use their power to prolong my life and save us all. Then when Khaleesi says, well, if you can do it, then I can do it. And of course, that's what gets us to the point where we have to create the time loop. Now, I'm not saying that Doctor Strange is evil. I'm not saying that Doctor Strange is causing problems, but I do think that in the genre of superheroic stories, that violation of, and like I say, it's always the right thing to do at the time. It's always the right thing to do that, hey, Gotham PD is corrupt. We need a Batman. Aliens are invading. We need a Superman or Avengers. We need these people that can step up in these moments. But once that moment passes, what do you do? Mm-hmm. Do you embrace that we have to have a system to control things? Or do we say, let them keep on going and let every person who wants to put on tights make decisions of law and justice for themselves? What is the difference between a Daredevil and a Punisher? Punisher kills, Daredevil doesn't. But as
decide who's the psycho. Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, as Sinestro will tell you, you can do a lot without killing someone. You can take over a whole planet and never use your ring to kill one person.
Yeah, but with especially in this movie with the whole mysticism, since we first just get introduced to it now, it's like, okay, Mordo didn't know the secrets the Ancient One was holding, about how she was tapping into the dark dimension and stuff. So is it possible that Mordo thought the system was one way, but it was actually another way?
Well, yeah. Well, obviously, yeah.
He thinks the system failed him, but it actually didn't. It's just it isn't what he thought it was.
Well, what he's looking at is the same thing that Khaleesi came to. There is this dark private knowledge. Mm-hmm. And it comes to this idea that, so you think you can use the dark private knowledge, but no one else can. And along those same lines, it's this idea that, okay, for what it's worth, as we've said, there is a cost. There is a cost every time you use magic. And what Mordo might be looking at here is saying every time people are doing magic, they are opening these doors to the dark dimension. They are opening this. They are putting everything at risk for their own self-fulfillment. Whether you're Pangorn using magic to walk, whether you're Stephen Strange using the time device or the Infinity Stone to rewind time and save the universe, you're still doing things that are at its core bad for society, for everything. That you're going to go back in time and you're going to cause a disruption, and now we're in Flashpoint. It's like, yes, it might be able to, in this moment, save this situation, but there will be a cost. As Monaco says, there is always a cost. And if you don't pay your bill, if you don't drown a couple rabbits now and again, you are going to, that negativity is going, that danger is going to come back to you. And of course, whether or not we're going to see Mordo as an anti-magical force, as a guy who's just trying to destroy all magic in the next story, or a guy who simply wants all the magic for himself, much in the way that maybe the Ancient One did, that I'm the only one that can be trusted with this power. And that might even be what Mordo learned, was that, okay, the Ancient One protects the universe. The Ancient One is allowed to use this mystical power. There is no Ancient One. I'm not going to trust Strange with this. I'm the only one that should be in charge, you know?
I mean,
again, that's self-aggrandizement.
I could see Mordo trying to take over, you know, all the mystical forces, but not destroy anything, because the way they did it isn't all this magical stuff like a fundamental part of the universe. So like if you try to destroy any of it, you're like, okay, I'm destroying gravity.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can see him trying to do a takeover, not destroy anything.
Yeah, well, I think he definitely says the problem is there are too many magicians.
Mm-hmm.
There are too many people that have access to this knowledge that should not. And because of and you know, for what it's worth, you know, apparently all you had to do was show up and ask, and you could, you know, if you showed up at Timertage and asked and were nice enough, they'd teach you everything you need to know about magic. So really, literally everyone could have been a sorcerer. They just had to know where to go. They just had to know the door to knock on.
And take the 6-week course.
Yeah, and take the 6 weeks course. Learn at home for a better career as a sorcerer supreme.
You too can learn. You too can learn magic.
Yeah, 3 convenient locations. I'm sorry. Wait, it's Hong Kong. 4 convenient locations: Hong Kong, London, Timertage, and New York City.
Of course, New York City.
Yeah, no LA, man. If you're in LA, you're SOL, folks. Sorry. Sorry, void were prohibited.
I thought the music was great. I thought Michael Giacchino did a really great job with the score.
Yeah, no, you see, I liked the movie. I have criticisms for anything, but I really liked the movie. I thought that the music was fantastic. I thought the visuals were great. I really thought the acting was well done, and I really enjoyed the characters. But then again, I am bound to these characters. I don't know exactly what Rachel McAdams' purpose in this was, aside from to be the girl.
Exactly. Poor thing.
But, well, you know, I guess maybe she was there to prevent any Wong shipping. I mean,
never gonna happen. There's always gonna be / shipping. Don't you know these things, Charlie?
Oh, I know these things. I know these. But yeah, it's like, hey, there's, you know, doesn't matter who Steve has flirted with. Everyone wants to ship him and Bucky.
Yep.
Like I say, man, one night in a foxhole don't count. We all have needs, and you know, love can go beyond many things.
Well, a lot of people like this movie. It was the #1 movie in the world for 2 weeks in a row. So
yeah. It even stayed on top. Did Trolls beat it or no?
No.
It survived.
No, it's still
Yeah, Trolls was #2, but they came out the same weekend. But in the 2 week, at least the 2 weeks we had so far, yes, Doctor Strange was #1 and Trolls was #2 every week.
And then what's coming out? Magical Beasts is coming out.
That come out yesterday.
Yeah. So that's probably going to be #1. Although you never know. People might be sick.
Never doubt the power of Potter fans. They've been deprived for way too long.
I don't think so. It's well, I guess, you know, they don't have any ongoing. Well, no, they just had another book or a written play come out of Harry Potter as the middle
child. That one,
yeah.
But an actual movie that's accessible to all the Potter fans and not just the ones that are theater geeks.
Harry, also known as Harry Potter and the Power of Red Tape.
It'll be interesting, a magic movie versus a magic movie.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah, well, one's the new magic movie, one's the magic movie that's already been out. Yeah, and
but no, you were saying Rachel McAdams. You know, the whole purpose of her being in the movie is to heal him pretty quickly from a wound.
Ex Machina.
I mean, once she sewed him up, he was pretty quickly. He was good to go. No sign of no twinge of pain at all or anything.
Yeah, well, that's because it was only a flesh wound. Because even though you are a mystical ninja with magic ninja weapons, so hard to hit the heart, you know. It's just
she's not my H1. I didn't vote for.
No. At least for unless of course you happen to be Daniel Drum, in which case, sorry, your heart was just in the wrong place. Because you are out and you're gone. Really felt bad for that. I was really kind of like, really? That's the end of Dr. Voodoo? I know. Obviously, we get his brother comes in later, so his character was fated to die so that his brother could rise and be Dr. Voodoo in the next one. But
do we need a next one though? Do we?
Yeah, well, they're gonna give you one.
I know, but I'm just saying, at this point, is the MCU sustainable? Like, a lot of our faves are getting kind of old. I mean, whew.
Well, but that's why they're moving into older characters. You see, that's the thing. You can be a master of the mystic arts. You can be the ancient one and be old. You can do all that, and Tony Stark. He can show up in the armor, or as I've said, they're just going to go with Rhodey as the new Iron Man. They can do that, and they should do.
No offense, Don Cheadle.
Don Cheadle is very charismatic. Don Cheadle could carry Iron Man 4. I'm saying that right now. I have no doubt Don Cheadle would carry Iron Man 4. Easy.
But is that why they're doing what they're doing in Marvel Comics right now? Instead of like a Don Cheadle, are we going to get like Riri Williams as Iron Man? Are we going to get Miles Morales Spider-Man eventually? Although
yes, that is what we need to be moving toward.
Although I was going to say the Peter Parker Spider-Man in the MCU is still pretty young, so
yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to meet the multiverse, baby. We already kind of talked about it in this movie, so
that's right.
They'll do that, And they may well do that. They may well go to the next universe over, because now they can do that, Now all they have to do is introduce Miles Morales at some point, and then we start finding out about the Miles Morales universe, and then they can reintroduce all these characters. They can wake up Ultimate Steve Rogers, and this time he's played by some other dude.
Sorry.
No, you know who they need? They need the guy that played the last guy to play Human Torch. Have him be Captain America in the Ultimate Universe.
No.
Am I blanking on his name?
Michael B. Jordan, that one. No,
yeah,
that one.
Michael B. Jordan is Captain America.
Yep. No, thank you. I like Michael B. Jordan, I just don't like that idea. But no, I thought that they did lay a lot of fantastic groundwork, and there's a lot of ways that they could go, and we finally are getting back to the Infinity Stone, which means we can kind of start wrapping up this phase and pushing towards the Infinity Wars or whatever the hell.
Well, yeah, because this was the last one they needed. Because they're not going to reveal the Soul Stone, because, as we've said, Thanos has to at least have one of these stones already. Because otherwise he keeps on giving his stones to people. Could you hold this stone and go get me another? Thank you.
Well, some of the villains in the Marvel MCU, it's just like, really?
Yeah. Well, just for right now, we would really like it if Thanos was not that incompetent of a supervillain.
I agree, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, plot point inconvenient.
Here's what it is they can't call out the Soul Stone because that is magic. Once you acknowledge the existence of a soul as a thing, it's too magical and they don't want to go there. That's why, like I've said, I think very much the Soul Stone was supposed to be the one in Guardians of the Galaxy. But they completely threw that out the window because I think they felt they were getting pushback from Chinese censors, which is why they came out early to say the Eye of Agamotto is the Time Stone.
Okay.
And why they completely started defining what all the other stones were, expressly because they realized they had to. Because I think originally they were just going to let people make guesses about these things and never state it. But I think when they got pushback because it was pretty clearly what they were doing was doing the Soul Stone in Guardians of the Galaxy. Because, of course, and, that is the Soul Stone most associated with Adam Warlock, who they do Easter eggs for in there and things like that. They had to, in order to get that distribution, throw it out, and they just sort of randomly called it the Power Stone, even though they had previously pretty clearly showed the Power Stone as the stone that gave the the elves' super strength. You know, it is what it is. But yeah, so we're done with. We're not going to find any more souls, any more stones. Now we're just going to have people trying. We're going to have Thanos trying to grab all the stones. Now that everyone knows where all the stones are. You know, and we'll probably get mention of the fact that everyone knows where all the stones are now in Ragnarok. But hey, Planet Hulk.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Well, you know.
No, they pushed that for something else, didn't they? Technically.
Well, no, they're doing Hulk and gladiatorial stuff in Ragnarok, and we're going to get Meek. So we're going to get like Planet Hulk Light, and then maybe they're going to have Banner be out there on a planet for the Infinity Wars. Maybe he gets left, gets left behind. We'll have to see. We'll have to see if Tony Stark and Thaddeus Ross are part of why he gets left behind. But we'll see that when we do our next Marvel DC team up now, I guess. I guess we're no longer versing each other, Lilith. Now we're friends.
We'll do a versus eventually. Maybe January.
Yeah, I'm thinking Oh, that's gonna be a great first. That would be a great first. Is when you two are in the same room. Oh,
boy, the tension will be great. I just got to keep it from moonlighting.
Well, I told you I want to make that one a team one since everyone will be here. Lilith and Tyler versus Charlie and Rob.
If my car does not die between now and then, I will be there. Okay.
So what would you guys give this as a grade?
Oh, I thought this was definitely an A film for me. I mean, this was really, as a nerd, it hit all my nerd spots in just the right way. I felt that the drama was real. I mean, I'm not going to give it an A+. I mean, you could even say it's a lower A because obviously we do have it easy to become a master of the mystic arts, and the timeline, as far as how long it took Calisius to open this gateway, seems pretty big. Although, and again, you have to imagine that there's just a lot of other magicking going on that's off panel. That's why it gets delayed, and that's there's all sorts of things that these guys are doing that aren't one-on-one fights. But who knows? But I give it an A. I really liked this film. I thought this was. I mean, I always say this after I see a Marvel movie, but I do think that this one actually is deserving to be said. This has been my favorite one so far, just because it is taking everything in a new direction, and it is something that goes into what Doctor Strange is in a very real way. And I really liked the character.
Wait, did you see this in 3D, IMAX 3D, or just regular standard?
I saw it in actually regular 3D, real D 3D. I was not that impressed by the 3D effect. Maybe in IMAX it was even better, but I mean, it was good. I didn't see it in 2D. Because I haven't had enough money to go back to the movies in the last couple of weeks, but yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I thought the 3D was good. Though I'm never really a guy who is impressed by gimmicks like 3D, but I did think it was very enjoyable, and maybe if I had seen it in 2D, I would have been less impressed. I can't take because I haven't seen it in 2D yet.
I did. I saw it in 3D also, and I mean, it looked good, but it didn't like blow my mind like. I'm trying to remember. There was other movies I thought looked even better in 3D. Maybe Ant-Man or maybe...
Yeah.
I thought Guardians was better in 3D. I thought Guardians had better use of the 3D.
Yes.
Well, they had better use of color, and that's a whole different ballgame when we're talking.
Yeah. Guardians was really one of my... maybe I should need to see these things more in 3D, because I'm thinking back, I really loved Guardians. And I really love this. So maybe streaming in 3D is really, maybe it's much more of a factor than I think, I
watched it in 2D because I get nauseous when I do D-Box in 3D. So I always watch these in 2D until I get home. I have a 3D TV. So when it comes on Blu-ray, I'll see how I feel about it, I guess. But yeah, I saw it in 2D and I gave it a B+.
Okay. Well, that's good. Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. It's
on roll.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like in the B+ A- territory. I mean, the like we were saying, the acting was good. The effects were good. There's just a few little plot holes.
Yeah, well, you get those in any film, and you know, and truthfully, I don't know how long it takes to be a magic user. So it's really hard to say. Oh, you can't You can't just become a magic user that fast. And it's like, well, why not? It's like Yoda says, there's no try. It's not actually trying that. Once you unlock it, now it's unlocked. Okay. Once you figure out, oh, I have to pour the water out of the glass and now I can be filled. Like really, that was all there was to it.
I mean, the whole time frame thing, it's not like you're taking a class to learn, how to be an electrician or something. It's, it's magic. So, yeah, some people might be able to do it in 6 weeks.
Some heroes need to be, too. Some things just have to be. And so they have that natural spark, if you will. So that's the way that I take it.
Yeah. There's a lot. There's ways to headcanon it all to make it make sense, like I said. And, and hey, it didn't take Luke that long to be a Jedi. So, what are we judging this by? It's like really Jedi, and heck, it didn't take Rey that long. It's like really, literally, being a Jedi is really easy. You just have to try and do it,
Pick up the lightsaber. Yeah, there you go.
Exactly. Well, it's like that's really all there was. It's just,
Destiny. Sorry.
Yeah. Use your feelings, Luke. Okay.
So did we talk this one out?
Definitely.
I think so. Yeah. And my wife, like just before we started, she told me she was done at the nail salon. So I had better go get her.
Okay, then Charlie Esser, where can people find you?
Well, if you'd like to find me, you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way, the way our Maz and Paz once did, at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. And of course, follow me on the Twitters as I live tweet various things at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle for quality.
And Lilith Hellfire?
You guys can find me on Twitter, either at Lilith Hellfire or at Adventures in FG. Also, I just wanted to say, if you guys haven't seen the 2007 animated film, Doctor Strange, the Sorcerer Supreme, you should probably check it out if you like this movie and haven't seen that already. Also, please check out my website, adventuresinfangirly.com.
All right, and you can always find me, I'm on Twitter, at NightwingPDP. You can discuss anything Marvel or DC with me, especially if you're a creator and you want to do an interview, nightwingpdp@gmail.com. You can find me on many podcasts. Most of them, Lilith Hellfire and Charlie Esser are on, like the Legends of DC podcast, the Enough Said podcast, and the one I do where they're not on, the Before the Bad podcast. So check all those out. All right. So what is the next movie? Is it Ragnarok?
Or
is it Homecoming?
Well, does DC have anything coming out?
Well,
not till 2017 Wonder Woman summer, right?
Yeah. Wonder Woman. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Because that'll be fun.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. It does. If
anything, it looks beautiful. So.
I still have high hopes for this film. I think it's going to be good. I think, here's what I'm going to say. My biggest complaint for it right this minute is just that Wonder Woman has a weird accent and none of the other Amazons do. So that's my only complaint about it right now. And that, I overlooked sling rings, and honestly, that really bugs me. But, so I can overlook the accent problems for Wonder Woman. So I'm very excited about that film.
All right, boys. You guys have a great Saturday. I'm off to work.
Okay.
All right, everyone. Thank you, and thank you for listening in and joining us. So, go have a magical day.